The San Francisco Giants have been a pleasant surprise much of this baseball season, currently sitting in a wild card spot as we record here today. But recently they've been slumping hard, and it's hard to get a read on, will this team be closer to the team that is playing now versus will they be closer to the team that was playing like a team on fire heading into the All-Star break? Kyle, I tell you, I wasn't expecting them to be ahead of the Padres at this point in the year, but here we are.
Yeah, I think the Padres are doing more damage than the Giants are blowing them out of the water. Although San Diego and San Francisco have about the same run differential at this point. It's just been a very unlucky season for San Diego. I know the Giants are sitting at +8 in the run differential column, and San Diego is +57 in the run differential column. So at least I can hold that over San Francisco. But the Giants being in the playoffs is a byproduct of a big like gluttonous group in the middle of the National League, right? We know the Braves and the Dodgers have both been exceedingly great this year. The Dodgers just ran off a 10-game win streak to really pull away from the Giants. I know that for a minute there, the Giants were like, we're a game and a half back. We're 2 games back of the Dodgers. Then you look up and now they're 11 games back of the Dodgers. But behind the Dodgers and Braves, who are clearly going to play in the NLCS this year, which is something you can't usually say for baseball. Baseball is usually random and crazy. Behind the Dodgers and Braves, there's just like a bunch of teams that could beat each other on any given day. And I give the Giants credit for being in that group this year because after the tumultuous offseason they had with the Arson Judges and the Carlos Correas and the Michael Confortos, it didn't seem like they would necessarily be in this position. And so San Francisco, as we're recording, finds themselves a game and a half ahead of the Diamondbacks, Reds, and the Marlins for the final wild card spot because it's a 3-way tie for 7th place right now. And like you said, it's hard to get a read on where they kind of stand at this point. Are they the team that ran off 9 out of 10 games back in June, or are they the team that can't score runs right now?
Yeah, let's talk about that offensive struggles that the Giants are facing. So since July 19th, last in runs per game at 2.9, last in batting average, last in OPS, last average with runners in scoring position, 29th. So second to last. So it's been pretty ugly. And, part of it is just earlier when they were on fire, they're young guys that were coming up, they were hitting, they had a couple of the old guys performing well. Right now, the only bat that you really can count on as a Giants fan is Wilmer Flores. And while I love watching Wilmer play, and he's certainly come up big at many points this season, he can't be your main guy to count on. Jock Peterson can't be your main guy to count on. When Buster Posey retired, I knew it was going to be tough sledding either way. And that's why I was relieved when we saw Patrick Bailey come up this year. And for a good while there, he was looking like a competent replacement to Buster Posey, the true heir apparent. And defensively, he's still doing a nice job. He's still one of the best, if not the best, defensive catcher in the National League. So you got to give that to the rookie backstop. But his batting average, his switch hitting ability has taken a huge step back. And then the team as a whole, some of their early season success, you gave to guys like Lamont Wade, J.D. Davis. Well, I have some bad news. Basically, over the last 30 days, late night Lamont, he needs to wake up. He's batting 200 over the last month. And his OBP, his on-base percentage, which was his claim to fame early in the season, it's under 300 over the last 30. And J.D. Davis, same kind of story. He's batting 146 over the last 30 days. So this is part of why they're struggling as a team, and situational hitting too. Like there's this past weekend, there was opportunities for them to beat the Braves. They had bases loaded situations, and they're just hitting in a double plays. Guys who are coming up, role players are coming up, just aren't producing in the big spots, the big moments. Back during the trade deadline, I think most Giants fans, if you did a pulse check, they said the biggest need was starting pitching, and that's still kind of true. But right now, the Giants just can't buy runs, and they can't buy situational hits that was kind of helping them win early in the season. Like, remember that series against the Padres in June we were talking about, which was kind of a crazy series. The Giants ended up winning the first 3 games in dramatic fashion, and the Padres won the 4th game, I believe, like 10-0. Well, that's really the only way the Giants are winning games right now, like in dramatic fashion, because they just stole one from the Braves today as we record on a Sunday, but they still lost 5 straight series, including a sweep to the A's and losing a series to the Angels. That's not good. Like, I can forgive losing to the Rangers. I can forgive losing to the Rays. I can forgive losing to the Braves, but you got to beat the bad teams. That's part of the issue they're in right now. This part of the rut.
It's funny that you mentioned the Rangers series because that was like the Sunday game against the Rangers was like the perfect embodiment of what's happened this year, which was Logan Webb gave them 8 2/3 innings without allowing a run. He was that close to throwing a complete game shutout, and the score was 1-0. He gave up a double. They went to the bullpen, and Texas drove in that run from second base with 2 outs in the 9th. They scored another run in the 10th inning to go up 2-1. And if it wasn't for the walk-off home run by Patrick Bailey, they would have lost the game to Texas, blown the series, despite the fact that Logan Webb, who's been a legitimate ace for them, also Sacramento's own Logan Webb, who's been a legitimate ace for them this year, gave them 8 2/3 of shutout ball, and then only on the last out of the game did they give up a run, and that was enough to force extra innings. So yeah, the Giants are in a situation where they can't hit, and you threw out a lot of names in there, whether it was Lamont Wade, or whether it's Patrick Bailey or JD Davis or Jock Peterson. You threw out a lot of names, and I don't know who the guy is that needs to, like, if this person turns it around, it'll spark the offense. Cause it feels like they don't have that guy who, like, if he starts hitting, like with the Phillies, it was like if Bryce Harper starts hitting, it'll turn around their offense because Castellanos is giving them something and Trey Turner's giving them something. It feels like they need like 3 or 4 guys to turn it around in order to put together even a league average offense.
And why it's so gross right now is it's like 5 to 6 guys that are in perpetual slump. Like Thairo Estrada, he's came up with a couple big hits since he's gone back off the injured list, but he was even slumping prior to his injuries. And right now they're waiting on like the injury statuses for like guys like Mike Yastrzemski, Mitch Haniger. Those are fine veterans to insert in the middle of your lineup, but I think most Giants fans are trying to figure out too, what is that balance of just letting the young guys play? Because we've seen a lot of guys come up too this year, whether it be Luis Matos in center field or Heliot Ramos, Marco Luciano.
Yeah.
We want to see them get more playing time. But at the same time, if they're killing the team, like Casey Schmidt came up and was hitting like 500 for a 3-week stretch, and then he was hitting 100 for the next 3 weeks. Yes, you want to give that guy some run, especially when you have an aging veteran like Brandon Crawford, but you don't want to sacrifice the season if you can make a playoff run, because this is a pivotal year for guys like Gabe Kapler and Farhan Zaidi. They can't just like say, all right, we'll just wait another year. We'll just punt on another year. Especially, you started off the video by mentioning the disastrous offseason that was. Those guys kind of need to buy some more goodwill with this team. The more they punt, the more they stick it to the fan base. I'm sorry, but Giants fans are kind of spoiled. I hate to say it, but we got spoiled in the 2010s. So it's hard to be patient and watch this play out when you're making micro moves day in, day out, but we just can't make that splash move. Well, these micro moves, if you're going to make them, they got to pay off. We got to see the proof in the pudding.
It's been a decade since the San Francisco Giants won a playoff series. Have you really thought about that? It's been a decade since the San Francisco Giants won a playoff series. 2014 was the last time that they won a playoff series, and it was obviously a World Series. I mean, I know they won a wild card game, but still, the point being, like, San Francisco, it's been a while for them. And what's so interesting about the Giants, and this is why this team does fascinate me, is that baseball has decided in the Moneyball era and the balancing money situation that it is about giant stars that make an impact on the game, you know, the $300 million contracts, the $200 million contracts, and it's about finding value with players on the arbitration level. So like in Major League Baseball, your first 3 years in the league, you're making like $900,000. And then you hit arbitration, and it's a year-to-year process of negotiating, and you're usually getting pretty good value relative to what the player's worth. So baseball has become about the people at the very top of the revenue spectrum and top of the salary spectrum, and people at the bottom, and it's squeezed the middle class out of baseball. What the Giants have done over the years is said, what if we just take that middle class that everyone is not valuing and build a team of middle class guys? Like, what if we find value in these players like Jock Peterson, who's making $18 million a year, like Conforto, who's making $18 million a year? What if we find value in the margins that maybe these other teams aren't? And it's come with mixed results. Obviously, they won 107 games one year, and then they missed the playoffs. So I've just found that experiment to be interesting. And this year, they've outperformed expectations.
What I will give the Giants organization credit for, and particularly under the Zaidi administration, is that they have found those marginal players, as you mentioned, and they've actually done right by them in the sense of improving their careers, because a guy like Darren Ruff turning into something like he did in 2021 was unexpected. Kevin Gausman, I mean, you look at the deal he got with the Blue Jays, he's thanking the Giants for reviving his career. All these other guys who still have jobs like DeSclafani, who's on the IL right now, Alex Wood, all these guys are still getting paid from what they were able to do in that 2021 season. And guys
Even
like
Donovan Solano.
yeah, Donovan Solano, Tyro Estrada, them just being able to find him on the margins. And he's been a good player for the Giants. I think that he is truly a future player that you add to your middle infield and keep running him out there. But, guys like Mike Yastrzemski is probably one of Zaidi's bigger hits. We're starting to hit the point where it's like, what can you do with a 30-year-old aging player who was almost out of the league? At a certain point, like Yastrzemski can only take you so far. Lamont Wade's been a nice story at points for them this year, and certainly in 2021 when he was hitting all those pinch hit homers. And when I go back to 2021, it was a magical, amazing, enthralling season that the Giants were able to put together in 2021. But there was a lot of the luck element that I hate to say just is due for regression. Like the fact that you set a franchise record with pinch hit home runs, and now you're starting to see it like with guys who just can't hit their weight now that manage to get contracts after the 2021 season, like Austin Slater, like he pinch hit for someone the other night and it was just the wrong call. And Gabe Kapler's just been pulling the wrong strings lately. That's led into the slump, like not pinch hitting for guys in the right situations, wrong situations. When you constantly play that game of platooning people, you're just going to bet wrong a certain percentage of times. And unfortunately that has, and some of Zaidi's bigger misses, we're starting to see that too this year. Like Ross Stripling's been terrible for them. Sean Manaea's been so he's been better as a bullpen arm. When I mentioned the rotation earlier, and I thought that was a need for the Giants. Listen, if we get into playoff time, they can win a first round playoff series. And why I say that is because you're going to roll out Logan Webb and Alex Cobb the first 2 games. All you need to do is win 2 games in a 3-game series. That's good enough to advance. But when we get into the deeper rotation here, who's their third starter? Ryan Walker's been a great opener for them, but you're betting on him, Alex Wood, Manaea, Jacob Junis to just come in and kind of be that third spot. You really just have to bridge that gap to the bullpen, but that's tough to do in playoff baseball sometimes.
So the best thing I can say about Farhan Zaidi and that organization at the front office level is that they've hit on some really good players and taken some chances on some reclamation projects that have worked out great. And they've missed in some places as well. They've done no more remarkable or worse than any other general manager in the league, which, by the way, is why Zaidi got that extension after 2021. They have been no more or less remarkable than anyone else. They've had some prospects that hit, some prospects that have missed. It happens. And the fact that they have been just about average for the most part has led to them being just about average over the last 5 years. They've had 2 really bad seasons, 2 really good seasons, and 1 season where I think they went exactly 81 and 81, if I remember correctly. So they've just kind of been in the middle. They've had some good, they've had some bad, and they've been a really interesting experiment here. And so even just this season's a microcosm of that.
Let me ask, because as they kind of sit in here at, again, the 5th best record in the NL. So that's good. That's positive. But as I mentioned, you have a lot of young guys right now that are vying for playing time, been in and out of the lineup. Again, I mentioned Matos, Luciano. Certainly Bailey's going to play. I don't know if Joey Bart's going to get some playing time at all the remainder of the season. How do you handle them? I know they just called up their top pitching prospect too, Kyle Harrison. He's going to start on Tuesday. Do you just let the young guys play the rest of this year? Because that's kind of what the Giants thought they were going to be. Do you revert back to how you thought you were going to be in the offseason, or do you adjust now that you are in this spot with this record that you didn't think you would have?
So it depends. When you have like 5 players at similar positions, I'm just going to refer to the position players for the time being right now, because I know there's a pitching situation with the Giants that's unique too. But when you have 5 players all vying for playing time, there's not enough spots on the field for all of them to get in and remain competitive. That's usually a classic case of you need to trade 2 of them for a top end player. And that doesn't even necessarily need to be like what the Padres did when they traded CJ Abrams and Mackenzie Gore, who were 2 top-end prospects who were getting playing time in the majors, trading both of them for Juan Soto. It doesn't necessarily need to be that big of a trade. It could be trading for a number 2 starter next season. Maybe they go to those New York Yankees who are sitting in last place and they say, hey, you remember that Carlos Rodon guy, that guy that we wanted to sign to an extension? If you're willing to eat a certain amount of money on his contract, we will give you Marco Luciano in exchange for Carlos Rodon and you guys eat some of the money. Maybe that's the situation that it works out to, but those are more off-season moves. For the regular season, it's so late in the season that my best bet is just play the hot hand, especially because they're going to be in this situation where they're trying to get a 3-game series against either the Phillies or the Brewers or maybe the Cubs if they end up winning that division. So they're kind of in that space where it's like, we're going to play a wild card series against a team that also has holes in their team, right? The Giants have holes in their team. The teams they're going to play also have holes at some spots. If they get the Marlins can't hit for shit either. So, you're going to be okay in that respect. But the Miami Marlins series would be interesting. The Phillies series would be interesting. But for the time being, you just ride the hot hand and you reevaluate in the offseason, just because I think the Giants are probably in a position where they got to cash some of those players, even Joey Bart, who I know is a former number 2 pick. You got to cash some of those players that are on the fringes of the AAA and the majors for top end major league talent. And I know that's not a popular choice by Giants fans. I've heard their belief in the minor league guys, but if you've got 5 guys just vying for positioning, you got to trade a couple of them.
Well, it really just comes down to, can Zaidi bet on the right horses, bet on the right guys? Because I guess you would say, hey, he was right on the Carlos Correa thing. As much as he took it on the chin for what happened, he was right on the Carlos Correa thing. So he hasn't made a disastrous signing on a big name player or a disastrous trade on a big name player, because even the Chris Bryant trade, which is the biggest trade of the Farhan Zaidi administration, that didn't burn the Giants because they didn't really trade away that much. You probably couldn't even name the minor leaguers that they traded away. Giants fans can't name the minor leaguers that they traded away in that deal. And hell, I'm sure that the Cubs can't even name the minor leaguers that they acquired in that trade because they're not doing anything. So on the bright side, he hasn't made a huge error with trading away prospects or trading away high-end prospects. It's just, I think a lot of Giants fans don't trust him to be aggressive in general, because we've seen a reluctance to be aggressive with this team. The Chris Bryant thing is an outlier at this point. It's the one bold move in the entire 5-year, 6-year, I forget what it is now, reign of Zaidi in San Francisco. And I understood it the early couple of years because you're rebuilding, you weren't expecting much. But now we're getting to the point where it's like, okay, we got to start seeing those fruits of your labor. So either these guys who are coming through the pipeline, they produce, or you're right, you trade them and get players that will produce, that are major league players. I know, especially too, when you compare him, I mean, heck, he's always going to get compared to Brian Sabian. Sabian knew when to move off guys. Sabian knew when to bet on guys. That's kind of the bar in San Francisco that he has to live up to. I do believe that, yes, there has to be that balance. You're right. Play the hot hand, because you have a chance for the playoffs. Make the playoffs. See what happens. It's baseball. Nutty stuff happens all the time. If you win a first-round series, great. If you manage to upset the Braves or Dodgers, even better. But you just got to at least play with the cards you got. We're at this point in the season. Just see what happens. So, all right, guys. Well, let us know in the comments. How do you feel about the San Francisco Giants and their playoff hopes? Do you think they'll break out of this recent batting slump? Come on, we're the Slump Buster podcast. We believe in busting the slump. So come on, bats. Revive. Wake up a little bit. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe. We'll see you next time.